Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll continue and we'll make this another part, but I also want to go into your personal experience. What was it like for you to go through the transfer process, and how did that happen? Is it impossible? Is it difficult? Is it realistic? Are there opportunities for people to actually make it happen through the transfer?
Right. I honestly think that it is very California Community College, at a California Community College, and transferring to a four-year college, taking that pathway is very feasible. In my experience, I was fortunate enough to be connected with a lot of different resources coming out of high school. So,
Okay.
quick background about me: I graduated high school, didn't really have connections that like deep connections, and I didn't feel connected to my professors and the K through 12 system. And I very reluctantly enrolled at community college, basically a week before the semester started. So this was the summer after I graduated from high school. Kind of, I was working at Costco part time, and I was just kind of figuring out like what my next steps in life were going to be. So I decided just to enroll in community college. It's kind of like, one of those social norms. What do you do when you graduate high school? You go to college, right? So I've always been an okay student, just not very engaged or challenged, and I didn't feel connected. I didn't have that sense of community. But when I transferred and started at my community college, I that void was instantly filled, and I didn't know that I needed that. So a bunch of resources I took advantage of was, for instance, financial aid. That's one of the main concerns for someone like me and most people in general, and students who come from low income backgrounds. There's a lot of financial aid offered. So basically, I was eligible for, based off of my income, and the income guidelines aren't really crazy high. It's just, it depends on which application you fill out and what you're eligible for. So some students, if you're eligible for federal financial aid, then you can fill out what's called the Fafsa. So the Fafsa stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and that's only eligible for students who are that's only offered for students who are eligible for federal financial aid. Other students, for instance, who are DACA recipients or DREAM Act recipients, based off of their citizenship status, are not eligible for federal financial aid. They're eligible for state financial aid, California state financial aid. Compared to the feds, California is a lot more liberal, and we offer a lot more resources for students who don't have U.S. citizenship, for instance, or things of that nature. It could be very complex, but that those resources are offered. So I took advantage of those resources, and I realized, wow, I can get a lot of financial aid. All of my classes were paid for through what was formerly called the Board of Governors fee waiver, is now called the California College Promise Grant. And that pays for students' tuition based off of their family's income. Additionally, I was eligible for the Cal Grant, which is a grant based off of students' GPAs and what their prospective educational goals are. You can get, depending on which depending on your educational goals, a student can get additional money for that. And then luckily I'm eligible for federal money. I receive what's called the Pell Grant. So students could receive up to $6,000 for just for expenses to help pay for school. So since my tuition was paid for and I got the Pell Grant, that was basically $3,000 per semester because I was a full-time student. So since I was eligible for financial aid, there was a bunch of other resources I was eligible for that I didn't know of. One of the main resources I took advantage of, and this is offered at I think all California community colleges, if not definitely most, the Eops program, which stands for Extended Opportunity Programs and Services. And that is a phenomenal program. It basically offers extra support for underserved and historically disadvantaged community college students. So
Right.
in that program, I was a full-time student. I met with a counselor 3 times per semester. And what they offered me was priority registration. So meaning priority registration basically means that I was able to register for my classes before everyone else. So I didn't have to worry about all of my classes filling up. Um, and they also gave me a book grant. So they pay for all of my books. And then, like for instance, in math, in algebra and statistics, I had to get an expensive calculator that cost over $100. I really couldn't afford that, but they gave me that. They allowed me to rent that expensive calculator on loan. And there was a bunch of other resources that they gave me, and even above just the resources, like books and party registration and bus passes and parking passes and stuff, the sense of community that I felt it very connected to the campus, to the staff, to my counselors. And it was mandatory that I had to meet with them 3 times per semester. So naturally, I developed a pretty good connection and rapport with those people on campus. And I ended up just thriving. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was 18. And then fast forward later, I'm transferring to UC Berkeley. And everybody in my family is like, oh my God, you got to Berkeley. And it was just a dream come true. And because of that, and because I'm the first person in my family who navigated that, I was like the pioneer of my family in terms of like navigating college. I was able to provide that personal, trustworthy experience and able to walk a lot of my family members through college, and even the younger kids who are coming, or who are like 17, 18 years old, and their parents are like, go talk to Jared, he's a counselor. I'm able to offer that resource. So to answer your question, yes, it's definitely a challenge for sure, but with determination and drive and taking advantage of your resources, it's all possible.
Thank you for sharing that story. That is awesome to hear, especially going full circle and later counseling. You even helped your mother go through the program at some
Yeah.
point, right? You directed her and gave her information that basically passed on the gift. That's awesome.